Okay, hello everyone. My name is Laquan Williams, and in today's video, I want to talk about the new revived show. Well, technically, it's not new, but there are new episodes. It's Dexter Morgan, aka Dexter, is back. The show Dexter has been off the air for about 8 years now, and the revival is back now. It's not a reboot; it's a continuation of what has happened in the past. It's basically catching up about 10 years later since Dexter left Miami and basically faked his own death to get away from the Miami PD and all his co-workers that he was working with at the lab there as a forensic scientist slash crime scene investigator expert, all of the above. And also, unfortunately, his sister Deborah Morgan was dead, so he had to literally. I remember watching the season finale or the series finale, dump her body in the river. He disappeared into the hurricane and basically made it look like he was gone essentially. And what we saw is we thought he was dead, obviously, and years have gone by. I enjoy watching the show. I think I watched every season. I started like about season 3, but I had to go back to watch the other seasons, or was it season 4? But I went back to watch the other ones, and that's essentially what happened. Yeah, so he disappeared into this big, huge hurricane, and everybody thought he was dead. Obviously, Deborah Morgan died, so that was essentially the best way for him to end it. So, and also to go in hiding. And that's essentially what happened. It was very entertaining to watch the show for all the time. It was a fun show. I didn't think that they were ever going to come back and do a revival of it. Lots of shows never really do that. And just great that this did obviously happen. Now Dexter Morgan is back in upstate New York town called Silver Lake. It's a small town. It looks like Minnesota, but it's supposed to be in New York. So it kind of felt like Fargo to a certain degree. They've had Fargo on for about the last 4 or 5 years now, 6 different episodes, different seasons in different settings across the United States. Besides Minnesota, they've had different cities that they shot the show in. I think there was Kentucky as well, if I'm not mistaken. But I know Minnesota was a starting point for it, but that's essentially what's been happening. So now Dexter Morgan is living in upstate New York, town called Iron Lake, not Silver Lake, excuse me, Iron Lake, and he is going under the name Jim Lindsay. He's a town, I would say local. He's got well with these people. I don't know if he's lived here it looks like he has been living here for the past 10 years, which makes it obviously easier for everybody to know his name that he's using. Obviously, how he got a fake ID and all that and changed his name and everything, I don't know, but he's obviously very smart, so it's possible he either did it himself or he paid somebody to help him do that. I have no idea. His sister Deborah Morgan is essentially taking the role of Harry Reid, who used to be his father, who is a stepfather who adopted him, who is dead, who would always talk to him as a ghost, obviously, and like it made it seem like he was actually there with him all the times when he was having his kills and obviously whatnot. Now his sister that recently died, Deborah Morgan, is doing that now, so it's nice to see them still talk to each other, even though she's not physically there. He's talking to her as literally her ghost, but she's obviously not really there at all. Basically, what we saw in this episode is we saw how Dexter is now going, like I said, going under the name Jim Lindsay. He's working at a sporting goods store. He's a cashier slash associate. He is dating the town's sheriff, which is actually very smart because that puts him to be looked at as the least harmful person ever. He's not looked at as a suspect, and obviously allows him to stay under the radar while also being allowed to stay right next to the police and know exactly everything that they know and everything that they can do. Seeing as how he's been living in this town for 10 years, he's basically studied about, I guess, the area. He has his own cabin in the woods. He has a farm as well. And yes, there's snow, but he has animals, ghosts, and stuff. And he also is fishing, so he's kind of like living the kind of like how Wolverine was kind of like in Logan, how he was kind of living alone in isolation, but he has the girl that he's seeing, who is the police chief of the town, who has a kid. She's about 14. She's a teenager. She's divorced, so he's dating the police chief, and he's, like I said, working at a sporting goods store. We saw that essentially. We also saw that he was obviously very well knit in the community. He knows all the people around the reverend, the guys at the butcher shop, and obviously anybody who's regular customers that come into the sporting goods store that he works at. So what we saw on the show was, which I found to be very surprising, is that his son Harrison found him somehow after him being gone for 10 years, and how he disappeared. How he found him, I have no idea. We'll see how that happens when the show progresses, but his son was able to find him because when he left Harrison on the show in Miami, that was essentially 10 years ago. So he was like about 5, 6 years old. Looks like he's about 17 to 18 now. So essentially, that's basically what happened. His son Harrison found him, and he explained to him that he's here to see him. The first thing that happened was that Dexter denied that he was his father, and he told him to basically leave. He said he would give him money. Obviously, he felt guilty about it. The reason why he did that was because Deborah Morgan, his sister, kept telling him, basically, let him go, leave him alone. He's gonna have a better life on without you as his father. It's too dangerous for him to be around you. So he listened to her and let him go, and that obviously made him feel very guilty. And he essentially, in the end of the episode, actually decided to tell him to come back home and stay with him and get him situated while he's now living in obviously a whole different type of climate because it's cold down there. It's not Miami, obviously. He's living, like I said, in an upstate New York town. It's very small, very rural. So obviously the county sheriffs are like a close, tight-knit community. It's like I said, similar to Fargo, how the town's being run by the sheriffs, obviously, and also how everybody knows each other because, like I said, it's a very small, knit community. The only person that he actually attacked and killed in this episode was some young, rich kid who looked like he was obviously a degenerate. His father is an oil tycoon who was also was shown in the episode to be not favorably liked in the community. People are protesting against him. Actually, the police chief's daughter that Dexter is with, the police chief, her teenage daughter was there protesting against him. It was like a type of environmental, obviously anti-oil, because I think he possibly dumps oil out in the areas illegally. He's obviously not a very favorable person. He's very shady, and his son was obviously very shady as well. He did end up killing some people a couple years ago in a boat riding accident where he ran into them head on in the water, and he got away with it. And his friend took the fall for him. So Dexter eventually found out about that, and that actually led him to deciding to kill him. But the reason why he did it was because Dexter was actually looking to hunt a deer in the woods by where he lives. And this kid, he's about 21, 23, 20, around there years old. He shot at Dexter and almost killed him, but he killed the deer. Dexter got really pissed off and mad because he actually decided that he was going to kill the deer himself. After about a couple of times, him attempting to kill the deer, but he hesitated. So this young punk kid almost shot him. He was about, like I said, 22, 23 years old around there. Dexter ended up gun butting him with his rifle, leaving him there to bleed out. And then obviously he let the blood from the deer after he cut his throat drip out on the ice. So in the snow, so the blood can be the blood patterns can be like mixed up together, so it wouldn't be just one consistent pool of blood spray. So the deer's blood got mixed in obviously with this guy's blood. This 23-year-old guy who's very young. Dexter ended up bringing him to his back to his cabin in his back room. It looks like the wood shop area where he has all his power tools and stuff. And he did what he always used to do to everybody. He puts his plastic wall wrapping up. He puts everything up, wraps around everything. Puts his gloves on, puts his outfit on, and he starts cutting on them and taking a little drop of blood to keep as a souvenir for everybody that he killed, obviously. And the guy, and literally, it was great how he was talking to him, and Dexter was literally telling him to shut up, and how the scenes of them going back and forth, like I said, the acting, it was very great for Michael C. Hall as Dexter Morgan, and how he was talking to him with such anger and conviction. I was just like, this is like great. I missed the show, and this is what I remember about it, like him being serious and him not taking these things as a joke. Obviously, with him obviously what he used to do was get the killers and obviously the bad guys who obviously used to get away and would take them down, obviously, and he would run into also other people that were kind of similar to him who were also serial killers. So yes, he did end up taking this young kid's life, and then after that, he cut up his body, and it's looking like he's I don't think he it didn't look like he buried him anywhere, but he did take his body parts, and he did dispose them. But I don't remember him seeing him take them anywhere. So essentially, but he's gone, obviously. So, and obviously in the next episode, it might be the second or the third, but in the preview for the next episode, which would be episode 2. We saw how what's going to happen throughout the rest of the season, and how obviously Dexter and Harrison are going to have to build and mend the relationship that they had long ago, 10 years since that's obviously what has been. The 10 years have passed since obviously he last saw his father when he was just a young kid. Now he's a teenager growing into a young adult. Basically, the guy's father, the oil tycoon, his father finds out about him missing, and they, unfortunately for Dexter, his police chief girlfriend and the rest of her cop friends, they set up a perimeter around the area. It's looking like in the preview that they showed that they set up a perimeter to search for him in the woods around where Dexter lives. So that's obviously a bad thing because he obviously can be looked at as a potential suspect. So that's what's going to happen. There's a preview. The preview also showed on some other people who look like they're serial killers in this show as well, and they're abducting the young girls. This was shown in the first episode that just aired a couple of days ago. Apparently, there's some guys kidnapping girls and killing them, and it's not Dexter. Some people are saying that they think it might be Harrison, his son. I don't think so because it looks like those guys were using guns, and there would be no reason for Harrison to use guns because he knows if he knows anything about his father, Dexter never used guns. He only used knives and obviously any other weapons. It's like that were like predominantly kind of similar to that, but knives obviously, in anything like that, like butchers, regular scalping knives, stuff like that. He didn't use guns. He wasn't a cop. His sister was / kind of detective, and everybody else that worked with him in the department. So we'll see what happens. But the show was cool. I like the setting because it's around winter time, where obviously now here we're in November. I'm in California, but everybody is essentially in winter, obviously. And if you're obviously in any state, and obviously in the U.S. or around the world, obviously it's winter time. Is there snow? This is gonna be similar, just to like what we're seeing right now with the Hawkeye show. It's gonna come out soon on Disney Plus in another 2 weeks. And I'll do a review on that. It's a Christmas themed show, and it's essentially coming out in November. So it's like a winter show themed. So it all makes sense, and it's very obviously it all fits together. So it's great. So seeing the snow and Dexter walk around and hunting and him fishing, it was like him basically living like a regular, normal, simple life. But like I said, obviously there's some serial killers on the show who are kidnapping girls and torturing them and killing them, and he has to help the police obviously find out about that himself, while also trying to see who he's going to help them, obviously not from his past, obviously as a forensic scientist, obviously, and crime scene investigator, but any questions asked, obviously if his girlfriend talks to him about it, he will bring it up. There was a scene in the preview that showed him being brought into the office to talk to multiple police officers, including his girlfriend, who's the police chief, and they were talking to him and asking him about what they thought about what the case and what's going on. We'll see what happens with that, but he's trying to find out exactly who these guys are. He's trying to obviously keep himself out of trouble with nobody finding out that he killed that oil tycoon's 20-something-year-old son. And he also has to figure out how to work his relationship and mend it with his son Harrison. So we're going to see all of that. Also listening to Deborah, Morgan, his sister, also them arguing and him ignoring her. He told her, after she said, "Why did you bring Harrison back?" He said, "Because I don't need to listen to you, and I'm gonna this basically him letting Deborah know that he's gonna do this himself, and he's going to give himself and his son's relationship, Harrison, a second chance." So that's basically what's going to be happening. In this review on Polygon, they said that the only best part of the show was him killing that guy at the end. I actually find that to be a little disingenuous. This is the first episode of the show. It's a 10-part episode series for this first season of Dexter's New Blood, the revival of Dexter. It's not a reboot, it's a continuation, but it's a new setting. All the characters from the past are gone, except the Trinity Killer is supposed to come back in another episode of the season. We'll see what happens with that. Other than that, everybody else is new. Obviously, this kid playing Harrison is a teenager, but he's not the same actor. I don't think he is. But the kid who played him was obviously a younger kid who was like 5-6 years old. This guy obviously is not. He could be the same person that played Harrison 10 years ago. It's possible. I don't know. The show ended in 2013, like I said, but we'll see what happens, though. It was fun. I had no problem with it. It was nice to see Dexter back. Very interesting, obviously, to see how he's putting himself in this new setting. But just like how you saw him in Miami, he kept himself close to everybody. So as a forensic scientist and crime scene investigator, he was around the cops. So anything that they had on his kills, he had knowledge of because of him being around that. And obviously his sister was a detective / cop as well, Deborah Morgan. And they were all working together in the Miami Police Department. So he knew everything that they knew, which kept him out of trouble. Eventually, obviously, one of his police captains caught on to him, and he had to obviously take him out. I think his name was Woods, the black guy who was bald. He eventually had to take him out because he knew that he was too close to him, and he found out who Dexter was. This is essentially what he's doing now in this upstate New York town of Iron Lake, where, like I said, it's all snowy, it's wintry, it's like Minnesota. Like I said, it's Fargo-esque. It feels like Fargo, but he's in New York. Small rural town, so it's very small. Like I said, close-knit community. He's doing this here. Like I said, he's in the community. He knows everybody. They know his name. He's familiar with everybody. And like I said, he's very, very smart and methodical. And he's a very he's a genius. He is dating the police chief. That keeps him out of trouble as far as him being looked at as a potential suspect, like I said, but it also allows them to keep tabs on them while also being able to keep tabs on those serial killers who obviously are kidnapping all these girls and obviously, like I said, killing them and torturing them. That's going to allow him to get closer to them so they can help him through his journey as the dark passenger as he is, find out who these guys are and take them out, because obviously that might be even though I know that could help him out, because those guys obviously could take the heat off of him, and him obviously taking out that oil tycoon's son, and now he's obviously not alive anymore because of Dexter taking his life. And the episode a couple days ago at the end, he's still like he's a shark in the ocean. He doesn't want anybody to be around. This town's not big enough for everybody, so those guys have to go. Plus, they're obviously kidnapping girls and doing wrong to them and hurting them. He doesn't do that to innocent people; just kidnaps them, and he goes after the bad guys that the police can't get away. The drug dealers, the killers, obviously the people that hurt children. Obviously, he takes these people out. He doesn't go after somebody innocent for stealing a candy bar or something. So these guys obviously kidnapping these girls and torturing them, they will be next on his list. So we'll see what happens with that. But I thought the show was fun. The episode was fun. We'll see what happens on the rest of the show throughout the next couple of weeks. Obviously now it's on Showtime. You can get it. We can watch it on their app and obviously on their TV news network. Well, it's not news, on their TV network. Or if you have Hulu like I do, you can just pay $4 and get it added onto your account. On Amazon, it was like $10 extra, so I just decided to use it on Hulu because it was cheaper anyway, since I already have Hulu, so that made more sense to me. That's basically it. That's all I have to say about Dexter's revival show, which is back. It's not a reboot. It's a continuation, but yes, it's 10 years later of what happened in the past. It's called New Blood. That was the first episode. That was just a couple days ago. We'll see what happens, like I said, throughout the rest of the show. I'll be doing reviews about that, and we'll see what happens as far as Dexter figuring out who all this gang or group of serial killers are who are kidnapping girls. So that's basically it, and that's all I have to say about this. As far as the episode, I gave it about I say about a 7.5 out of 10. It was cool. What I would have liked to see was probably a little flashback as to actually how Dexter ended up there in the first place in Iron Lake, the upstate New York City, the town that he's in, excuse me. I would have liked to see how he actually got there. If there was like a 10 or maybe a 5 to 7 minute introduction of how he actually got there, I thought that would have been nice, because we just, like I said, how it ends is he disappears and then he ends up here now. We don't know how he actually ended up here. We saw him kind of like drift away at the end of obviously the last season, but we don't see him driving from, well, actually technically flying. I don't know if he drove from New York to all the way to Miami. How he got here, when did he decide to how did he change his name, how did he create this new identity and all that, because obviously it's a build-up process. So I don't know if they're going to show that throughout the rest of the show, because I would like to see that, because that's very interesting. Also, I would like to see if when he just left Miami, if they're going to show flashbacks of him keeping tabs on Miami's police department and how everything's looking over there, if they still suspect that he's alive. But we'll see if that takes place, obviously, throughout the rest of the show. Like I said, that's the end of my review, and thank you for listening to my video. Let me know what you think about the show in the comment section if you have not watched Dexter originally years ago. And if you have, how do you feel about it being back now? And that's basically it. And if you have not watched the episode, are you going to this new revival of Dexter? But it is a continuation, but it is New Blood, because it's all new characters, except, like I said, Dexter and obviously Harrison and the Trinity Killer, who will be coming back in the next couple of episodes. But we'll see what happens with that. That's all I have to say again. Thank you again for watching my video and listening to it. Thank you again. Bye. Thank you.